ladies and gentlemen. This is Richard Ojunick from the Chicagoland Veterans Command Post. Welcome back to another podcast. We have an interesting interview today with one of our post members from the River Grove American Legion VFW post. That's Barney Dufner, a Vietnam veteran, a holder of the Silver Star and 2 Purple Hearts, and we're going to speak to him this evening about his time in Vietnam. And I think you'll find it very, not only entertaining, but educational. He has some very interesting topics or points on his time in Vietnam. So I hope you'll stick around for the entire interview. I want to talk a little bit about our museum, which is opening November 8th. Today's October 28th. It's getting close. We have 10 days approximately before it opens up. We've been working diligently every day on that. We've got people from the village of River Grove, within the village of River Grove actually, helping us out, coming in, helping us with little things here and there as far as labeling, logging in items, helping us with mannequins. So we're very, very fortunate to have great supporters from within the village, residents of River Grove. So what I want to talk about with the museum is this. Lorenzo Fiorentino, the commander of the American Legion post, had a vision with this museum, and we're trying to carry it out. It's really, he has an idea for this museum to be an educational place for folks to come in and learn about the different wars. But not only that, but to honor the veterans who have served throughout these years. A lot of the veterans that we have, their items or equipment, uniforms, whatever, they might have not served in a war, but they served honorably, and we want to put their items in there to display their time of service, what they did, what that item was, that canteen, that rifle. We actually have rifles, a rifle, a hat, uniform, whatever, what time period it was from, who wore it, and so we want to make it a museum to where when you come in there, you're gonna get educated. So we have things, or we have items from the Civil War, World War I, all the way up into the past current war. So we hope that you can come on over on November 8th, join us for this ceremony. But again, I want to tell you about our commander, Lorenzo Fiorentino. He's been there every single day for the last month. He has to work. He has a regular job, of course, but he's there every day trying to get this museum up and running in a way that the folks in the village will appreciate it. Everyone will learn something, and we are able to honor these veterans. So I just can't say enough about our commander, Lorenzo Fiorentino, and his idea for this museum. And as I see it unfold, I'm very proud to be a part of that, as I know all the other post members are, because we've spoken about this. So anyways, let's continue on with start with the interview with Barney Dufner. Sit back and relax, and I hope you'll learn something from this. Where'd you go to high school?
My first year I went to Notre Dame out in Niles, then I went to Niles North in Skokie.
I see. And then you graduated from there or no?
No.
Okay. So what happened? You got drafted? You joined the military, or
I joined the Marines in 1966.
You were in high school?
I dropped out, but after I got married, I got my GED.
I follow. Okay. So now let's talk about Vietnam. So how did when you were in high school, you heard about it actually? You heard about what was going on?
A little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what did you think about it?
I tell you the truth, I didn't think too much of it. It wasn't on TV so much at the time. I never knew where Vietnam was at.
This is 1966.
Right.
So it wasn't on TV that much back then.
Right.
I see. And so you didn't think much of it. So what happened then? You were, okay, so you You weren't in high school. What made you think about the military?
Well, my one uncle, Jimmy Roselli, I get the two, anyway.
Sure, that's all right.
He was in the Marines, and he was at two places, basically, Iwo Jima and Okinawa. And after I got back from Vietnam,
That's World War II then. He was in World War II.
Right. Not jumping up too much, but after I got back from Vietnam, I went to his house, we started talking, blah, blah, blah. And, he talked about Iwo Jima and Okinawa.
So before you joined the Marines, he was already talking to you about Iwo Jima and Okinawa?
Yeah.
And what impressed you about joining the military, the Marines? What impressed you?
Well, they say the Marines are the best, so...
Yeah.
Make a long story short, a friend of mine in high school, Robert Gersh, I told him, I says, you're going to get drafted, and you're going to get drafted in the Army. And more Army guys get killed than Marines, I think, over there. So I wouldn't get drafted. I'd join the Marines if I was you. Well, you got drafted, you got killed in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you joined the Marines, and where did you join the Marines at?
It was one of the three corners, wherever it was at, Lincoln, Damon, and Irving Park, I believe.
And so 1966 is when you joined the Marines.
Yeah.
Were they drafting already?
Oh, yeah.
They were drafting. And when you walked in, what did the recruiter say when you told him you wanted to join?
Well, he asked me how old I was, and he says, well, you have to have a parent signature because I was 17.
Is that right? Mm-hmm.
And he says, no guarantee, but if you want to request what you would like to do, I says, yeah, I'd like to be a heavy equipment mechanic. That was my primary MOS, 1341, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And he says, well...
And MOS means Military Occupational Specialty. Okay.
Right. So, I dropped out of school in March, and I was in boot camp in San Diego April 25th.
I see.
So they needed a lot of bodies.
Yeah.
So they take you.
So you went to San Diego. Now, back then you said it was a modified boot camp. Today it's 13 weeks. Back then it was 8 weeks?
It's 8 weeks.
Uh-huh. And how many drill instructors did you have back then?
We had three. Two sergeants, E5s, and one staff sergeant. The staff sergeant wouldn't run with us because he had back problems from Vietnam. He's the only one that was in Vietnam.
Is that right? Okay.
And he would tell us stories about it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you had 8 weeks of boot camp. Once you graduated, you were given leave to go home before you went to...
No. Then you go, if you weren't going in the infantry, well, Marines call them grunts, obviously, you went to Camp Pendleton for ITR, Individual Training Regiment.
That's if you were not going into the infantry.
Right.
Uh-huh.
2 weeks of that. You did little things like you shot an M60 machine gun. I think you shot a law. You threw one hand grenade, M79 grenade launcher. Things that you probably wouldn't shoot unless you're specialized.
So you already knew you weren't going to be an infantryman. They already told you in boot camp?
Right.
They told you in boot camp you had to do what?
I got my orders for Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
To do what?
Heavy equipment mechanic.
Is that right? So I see. So you went to ITR in Camp Pendleton.
Yeah.
After 2 weeks, then you took leave to go home, or?
No, then I went to Camp Lejeune.
Then you flew to Camp Lejeune. And how long were you there for?
That was 8-week course.
For a heavy equipment operator.
Mechanic.
Mechanic. Oh,
but
mechanic.
Mechanics do operating over there.
Right.
Usually you're depending where you're at. If you're the mechanic, you'd be riding shotgun on the tractors and stuff because you can't hear nothing because it's so loud. But then they came out and they asked for guys. They had spaces for Fort Bragg for jump school. I said, yeah, I'll go. That sounds interesting. Physically, it was tough. Mentally, it wasn't like boot camp.
Okay, so now, you know what's interesting, bring it up, because I remember a lot of guys, you told me, challenge you when you say Fort Bragg, because Army guys who went to jump school today say, no, it's not Fort Bragg, it's where? Where is it today?
They say Benning.
Benning, Fort Benning. But back then, they had Fort Bragg, and that was for Army or just other branches?
Army and Marines.
Army and Marines. So Fort Bragg in the 60s was jump school also.
Yeah, because I think the Air Force and Navy had their own stuff.
I see.
Yeah, so they, you had your stupid number on your helmet. And
how long was jump school?
I think it was only 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
But I'm curious, Barn, because so when you're in Camp Lejeune, you're going through this kind you're going through heavy equipment operator. Why would they offer jump school for you?
Well, they had a few spots open because they only had so many, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever it was, 1,000, so
Yeah.
they needed another 25 guys or whatever.
Yeah.
And Fort Bragg is in North Carolina.
Right.
Camp Lejeune's in North Carolina. So I guess they came over by us. Well, I don't know. And they asked. I said, yeah, I'll go.
Now I've been to your house and I've actually seen your certificate. So yeah, you really went to jump school, and it's funny because until I went and saw it, I didn't know you went to jump school because you never talk about it. And you didn't even wear it on your cap, your American Legion or VFW cap.
Oh, yeah, there's the wings on it.
Okay, well I didn't notice.
Army wings.
Yeah,
actually.
Army wings. Anyways, so you went to a jump school, and that was how many weeks again?
I think it was 4 or 5. You get 5 jumps.
5 jumps. Okay, so 4 or 5 weeks of that show, and then after that, what did you do?
Then they gave me orders to go to Camp Hansen, Okinawa. They told me at Camp Lejeune that they were going to probably send me to Camp Hansen, Okinawa, godforsaken.
And you already
place.
had the training in the heavy equipment operator.
Right.
It was completed.
Mechanic.
Okay, mechanic was completed.
So they said that they probably will send you after you go to jump school to Camp Hansen, Okinawa, for EOD school. And
EOD means explosive ordnance
disposal.
Disposal.
And I had no idea what EOD meant until the guy told me. He said, well, because you're the mechanic, there might be situations where you might have to blow up stuff.
And EOD is part of the engineers, and that's what you were, your job was in the engineers. Okay. So you went to Camp Hansen.
Right. And that was another 8 weeks. And what's funny about that is, after Camp Hansen, they gave me my 30 days leave. Now, people know where Okinawa's at, and people know, I'll say Chicago. Well, then I went on 30 days leave back home to Chicago area. Then I had orders to go to Vietnam. Now, why didn't they let me have 30 days leave and then go to Camp Hansen in Okinawa? The government, and it's the military for you.
So yeah, you went all the way to Okinawa, then you went back to Chicago for 30 days leave.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. So that's 1966.
Right.
Were you walking around in your uniform?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Was it people already looking down in the military back then? Or that didn't start
Not yet. Not yet. But I didn't wear my uniform.
You didn't wear your uniform?
I just wore it on the plane and home because you're flying standby in the military, and I think from California to Chicago was like $50.
I see.
Standby, but you got paid.
So after 30 days leave in Chicago, where did you fly from? Chicago to?
Oh.
After 30 days leave.
Then after the 30 days leave, we went to Long Beach.
Long Beach, California.
And I was on a USNC, I think they call it, USNC W. Walker.
That's a ship?
It's a merchant marine ship.
So you flew from Chicago to California, and then from there you got on a merchant ship.
Right.
I see.
And that was 20 days. We stopped in Hawaii for, I don't know what they did there. And we got shore leave for a day, or half a day, whatever it was. And we went in the bowling alley, and I spotted a beer machine, like a pop machine. Well, I forget what it was, a quarter or something. That thing emptied out real quick. So, you gotta remember, now I'm 18. Well, I don't know what the drinking age, but anyways, even on base, you still have to have the legal age. Nobody said nothing.
Right. So how was that ship? Did you get sick on it?
Oh, I didn't get sick.
No, you didn't get sick, okay.
We went, we went in shifts to the mess hall for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it was basically empty.
Really? A lot of guys were sick.
Oh, at least 75%.
You know, I don't want to get off the subject, but last person I interviewed, Eugene, was a Korean War veteran, and he told me the same thing. He had to take a ship from San Francisco to Japan, and he said he was sick for 20 days.
I don't get motion sickness.
Okay, so that's cool.
And the food was excellent. The food in our chow hall is not too bad, but this food was like at a restaurant. At dinner, I go up there with my little thing and my metal plate, and I says, how many steaks can I have? He says, as many as you want. No liquor on the boat, on the ship. So, the food was great. In fact, I probably gained 10 pounds in 20 days.
Cool. So then you went from Hawaii to Vietnam.
Right.
And what port did you pull into?
Da Nang.
Da Nang. You're pulling into Da
Nang.
Right, Da Nang. And so when you got to Da Nang, you got off the ship. So what's the first thing that happens?
We got off the ship. No weapons. We had no weapons at all. We just had our sea bags and our, what do you call them? utilities.
Utility uniform.
Yeah. And they
Was it the jungle fatigues or was it the other ones? They were solid green, but they were
solid green.
So, but they weren't for jungle.
They were
fighting.
like the
Like
jungle fatigues with the pockets and everything.
sure,
but they're
sure.
solid green.
Right.
And they'd line you up where you're going to go.
Oh, is that right?
And then they'd have a guy, just like in the movie, they line you up, and this guy says, you brush your teeth for hygiene, this and that, da ba ba. And I guess I could say this. And they said, there's 3 rules in Vietnam. If they're running at you, you shoot them. This is the truth. And if they're running away from you, you shoot them. And if they're standing still, optional. Now, obviously, you can't do that all the time.
This is 1966.
67.
67 now. Okay, 1967.
March 67.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they flew a C-130 with the webbing on the sides to sit on. They flew us, a bunch of us, to Dang Ha, which is maybe, I'm guessing, 15 miles from North Vietnam. And that's where 11th Engineers at, 11th Engineer Battalion. And we had these hardback tents, which is wooden frame, which all screened in with a big tent on it. Sea bags up high enough so your cot and your sleeping bag and rubber lady is covered. And then we got our guns and stuff. And that's when I found out we don't need heavy equipment mechanics. And the guy saw my MOS for a 2336, if I can remember that number.
And what number is that again? What is that for?
That's EOD.
EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal.
And he said, we're gonna pair you up with an E5 sergeant, and I think the other guy might have been a PFC or Lance Corporal, and we need a corporal. So we're making you a corporal. I mean, that's how they do things back then. They want to make you a rank, they make you a rank. And they looked at my stuff and they go, yeah, you did good in class and stuff, you know. I mean, you blow the stuff up. The difference between then and now, you don't disarm anything. You blow it where it's at no matter what. You get people clear, you know. But these people today, no. They have a bomb suit on, they ain't going to do nothing. Concussion will kill you. So yeah, we blew up a lot of stuff.
All right, so they told you what you're going to be doing, and where'd you go first? First camp or first?
Oh, the first place I think it might be in Jiolin. That's east of Cantien and east of Khe Sanh, and we landed by helicopter. There were 3 of us, and they would attach us to different outfits that needed EOD
guys, so you attach it to
because everybody didn't have it, but even though anybody can put a mine in the ground, but sometimes they called us up to put minefields out and stuff, and our sergeant had to do the map where the mines are at. And about a half an hour before we landed at Jiolin, the helicopter got shot, another helicopter, about a half hour before us, got shot down and it's still burning. Wow. So we got lucky there.
And can you tell me anything about what you did there? Any missions or what you do?
Probably the main thing is we 11th Engineers were in charge of Highway 1, which goes up north, and Highway 9 that cuts to the west, that goes up to Khe Sanh, and we had to clear that and maintain it, and the bridges and stuff. So DOD guys, we'd have somebody with the engineers, whatever he was, construction or bridge builder or whatever, says, we want you to build the rest of that bridge up because it's easier to replace the bridge than to repair it, which kind of makes sense, I guess. So a few times we're out in, they call it Indian country, you're out in no man's land, and they yell engineers up front. And we know
this is when you're with a Marine Rifle Infantry.
Yeah, we might have been with 1-9 or 2-9 or like the one outfit called the Walking Dead. I forget, but they're battalions. And the 3 of us would take turns, except the sergeant. But I don't want to get into that too much. He wouldn't do nothing. So this other guy and me, we said, well, first we had a grunt, the infantry guy. He'd go in there so far and supposedly clear it. And then we'd go behind them with our explosives. our 45 on safe, because the guy's right 2 inches in front of me, and he tells me we're going this far up, and we had either on our, it was like the Boy Scout flashlight. We either had a red or green filter on it. Why, I really don't know. I guess because they can't see it, I don't know. And he said, this is as far as you're going to go. And I said, well, I have to know how far we're down, how much dirt is above us for the explosives. He said, well, I don't know. So I used to carry about 40 pounds down there. I used to carry a lot more than I had to, and the sergeant used to get mad at me. And so I put the explosives here and there. And he showed me on the way in some booby traps, and he killed a couple snakes and stuff. I mean, this terror, and the smell was unbelievably bad because they had hospitals, they had all kinds of stuff down there. And I always carried a phosphorus grenade, which looks like one of our smoke grenades, like a beer can.
Sure.
And I told the guy, I says, if something happens, I'm popping this phosphorus, and we get out of there, because nobody's coming through a phosphorus grenade. It burned up. So we get back, I detonate this thing, and you ever see 40 pounds go up in 3 sections? It's quite
Quite a thing to see, huh?
Oh, and the sergeant would yell at me, what are you using all that for? It don't cost me nothing. I said, let's wait for me to carry. Then he has more stuff flowing in.
Okay, wow. So how long were you with those guys for?
A lot of times, anywhere between 2 weeks, generally, to a month out in the field.
Is that right?
And no change of clothes. I always carried a pair of 2 extra socks. Sometimes I kind of clean them off in a river or something.
Is that right?
Underwear, you don't want to wear over there. It's too hot. There's no sense in it. Shaving, you didn't have to shave. I mean,
let me ask you this, Barney. How about water? So did you get water supply, or did you get water from the streams?
I always carried 3 canteens. I carried 2 on my belt and 1 on my pack. And when it was in the summer, you probably drink a quart of water, which is a canteen, probably every hour just about. I mean, you dehydrate like crazy. And you never take water from a rice paddy because there's fertilizer, and it ain't the fertilizer you're thinking of here. So either you take it from a mud puddle or a river, and in our little first aid pack, there's a little bottle of iodine tablets.
In first aid pack, there's a little bit of iodine tablets.
You take 2 iodine tablets, you put them in each can, wait about a half an hour maybe. That's why we always carry Kool-Aid and Tang, that orange drink.
Yeah, because it tasted terrible with
Oh, yeah.
iodine tablets.
Even the water we got from bases, our water supply people, over-chlorinated. Oh, that stuff is terrible. But so you flavor it up. And on base, well, you flavor it up maybe with a little liquor.
Right. Okay, so, and what were you eating at the time?
Sea rations.
And
Once a week, though, they'd fly us in a weekend. Sometimes they'd fly us in some hot food if we're out in the field.
okay, and they would send out the food. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so after you were with those guys for about a month or so, where'd you go then?
Then most of the time you went back to your home base, dying hot. And then sometimes you wait around a week, 2 weeks, and then they...
So you're waiting to get called up to go to a unit?
Yeah.
What were you doing during that time?
Nothing.
Not even training?
No training, no. They yelled, they were looking for an EOD guy one night, and they happened to come in my hooch. And I go, yeah, I'm EOD, what's up? Well, we got a live grenade. I says, yeah, so? What do you want me to do about it? They go, well, you gotta go check it out. I said, okay. So the guy shows me where it's at, and everybody's far away. Everybody's at it. So I got my flashlight.
Was it a U.S. grenade or a...
Oh, it was a U.S. grenade. And I'm looking at it. Well, the pin's out, the spoon's gone. I'm looking at it. I go, I know what somebody did. Somebody took it apart, popped the fuse, and put it back together to scare the hell out of somebody. So I go like there, I untwist it, I look, I said, hey, no fuse, somebody popped it already. Put it back together. The guy goes, you actually took it? I say, yeah, I knew somebody did that. I mean, if that spoon's gone, it's going to go off. I never heard of a dud grenade. I'm sure there might be.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So,
wow, so after 2 weeks, you know, you were sitting around, and then they sent you somewhere else, or
Yeah.
Was Da Nang always your base camp?
Dong Hao was my
Dong
base
Hao,
camp.
Dong Hao.
Yeah.
Okay, was your
That's where the 11th engineers were at.
so that was your whole time. You know, how many months you were in Vietnam?
13.
And that was your entire time. Your
Well,
base camp.
actually, 12 months, 10 days, or 11 days, because 20 days at sea counted as over.
I see. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So then, you went where then after that group?
Who knows? Then we had a thing. It had a couple of names. This was not May. Might have been in April. I'm not quite sure. Of '67. It had a couple of names. It was called McNamara's line, and it was called Trace line. It was 40 yards wide, and it went from Laos, I think, to Jiolin, and what it was supposed to be cut off the infiltration guys from North Vietnam, bringing all the artillery and ammunition, and barbed wire, mines galore, electronic stuff that supposedly guys in the back with radar or something could tell if somebody was coming through. Whether it was completed or not, I have no idea. And one time I had nothing to do, so I was riding shotgun on this guy's bulldozer, and it was called an Amco, and nobody liked it because you're sitting way up front, the engine's behind you, you're just sitting above the blade,